Welcome to the Upshot, Ultiworld Disc Golf's podcast about the latest in the disc golf world. I'm the publisher of Ultiworld Disc Golf, Charlie Eisenhood, and I'm joined again this week by Josh Mansfield. Josh, what's going on?
Hey, Charlie. Doing well. How about you?
I'm doing well. I have a quick little story for you before we get into the meat of the show. I think this is just a sign of the growth that we have seen this year in disc golf. I get a text from my stepdad a couple nights ago. Hey, we want to play some disc golf. Where can we get some discs? So my mom is in her 50s. Stepdad's in his 60s. And they picked up watching some Jomez maybe a year ago or so. Then when I was on the Disc Golf Network broadcasting a couple weeks ago, they get a DGN subscription so they can watch. Okay, I mean, that's just mom being supportive. But now they want to play. Okay, so they're like, what disc should we get? I was like, don't go buy anything. I'll send you some stuff from my house. So I sent them each a Judge and a Fuse, which I think is a very nice starter pack for the brand new players. But to me, this is just emblematic of why disc golf is growing so much. It's not just the pandemic. It's not just the, accessibility of the sport in the sense that there's courses all over the place. It's just so easy to pick up. And this pipeline from YouTube and the algorithm into watching professional disc golf and then playing, like that's a real thing that didn't exist even like 4 years ago. In the past, you played and then you sought out the video. These days, people discover the video and then seek out playing. And that's just amazing to me. So, I wish them luck. I'm looking forward to visiting and destroying them on the course.
Here's the serious question. Do they listen to the Upshot regularly?
I don't think so.
Okay, so not quite that supportive. They're not quite that into it yet.
Yeah, no, they're not that into it. It's like a casual, they watch sports. They don't listen to talk radio about sports.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they're going to get so into it that they start listening to the show. Maybe I'll get a text message after this.
Right? They've got a shout out now in the show, so they're going to have to go looking for it.
All right, well, we got a good one for you today. Casey White will be joining us a little bit later. And we had a little segment last week, best young player on tour. Well, Casey White goes out and finishes tied for 5th this weekend at Jonesboro. And I think, pretty clearly establishes where he's at, which is number one pole position in that conversation. Immediately, if there were any questions about it, I think he's set himself up, ties Paul McBeth for 5th place. Looking forward to talking with him more about, what this year's been like for him. He's been playing so well. And we also, of course, going to talk Jonesboro big picture. Really quick, first of all, the European Open has been canceled. So the European Major, which was set for July in Finland, has been canceled basically due to COVID-19. As much progress as we've made here in the U.S. in the vaccination department and starting to get to the end of the pandemic, other countries are not in the same boat. And certainly Europe is quite a bit further behind the U.S. on this front. And the organizers of the European Open decided it wasn't worth trying to hold a tournament if you couldn't have spectators. You might not be able to have all of the international players. And it was going to be, I think, as UC Marisma put it to me, a shell of itself. So no European Open. And of course, Josh, this sort of begs the question, are the top American players even going to go to Europe at this point? There is a Pro Tour event that's supposed to happen, the PCS Sula Open, but are people going to go to Europe and deal with potentially significant logistical challenges to do so, to play that event and maybe an A tier or two?
I don't think it's likely. I think with the European Open, I mean, the Beast at Nokia has always been a big event that draws, being a major, brings players out and really incentivizes the logistical cost of going to Europe. But especially with, I mean, Kristen Tatar saying that, her goal is to come back over here for Worlds and then spend some time over here in the States. I think it's more likely that European players are going to try and do what they can over here than vice versa. So,
yeah, I mean, it's. I know Jeff Spring, the Pro Tour director, said in an interview before Jonesboro that the plan is still to hold the event, but they don't know if the players are going to go. I just don't see how it makes any financial sense for players to go. Like how, I mean, unless you want to have a European vacation, is that even going to be feasible or fun given the current state of the world? From a financial perspective, without the major happening, there's no way that you're going to make it back, playing at the PCS Sula Open. Sorry. So I don't know what that's going to mean for how that event moves forward and if there's going to be live coverage and whatnot, because that was the plan. I guess we'll see what players decide to do. But if I'm a player, I'm going to say, well, I guess I'm going to take a couple weeks off and just rest, because there's no way it makes, unless you're a top 5 type player who's not worrying about money, then there's no reason. There's just no reason to go. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and like you said, even then, the opportunity to rest, take a couple weeks off, recoup. I mean, that's a huge advantage. So,
yeah, I mean, especially coming off Worlds, So, congratulations to all of those who placed well at the college championships, which finished up this past weekend at the beautiful new course down there in the South. Looking forward to the continued growth of the college division in disc golf. I think there's a lot of opportunity, as we discussed here. Let's get on to the Jonesboro Open. And there's a lot to get to here, but I think we have to start by talking about Catrina Allen. So not only did she beat Paige Pierce to win this event, but she shot one of the best rounds of the year, a 1041 rated beauty of a round in round 2, and just absolutely locked in, dialed. You can look at it from kind of any angle that you want. She hits green in regulation on all but 2 holes. 90% C1X putting, just had all of the pieces moving on what is a difficult course. It's not like this is some gimme course. I'll give her full credit, 91%. She only missed 1 circle 2 putt the whole round. And, this is Catrina at her absolute best. And it's so awesome to see. I think clearly, regardless of where it ends up ratings wise, for my money, the best round in FPO so far this season.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I think what's noteworthy is that that's something that was converted, and not only was round 2 just incredibly fire, but she continually pushed on the gas, pulling that lead ahead to the point that for the tournament overall, strokes gained on the field first, strokes gained tee to green first, strokes gained in putting first. It was from the tee pad to the basket, a lockout performance by Catrina Allen, and it was impressive to see. It was awesome. It was great to watch.
It really was. And I think we've said it before, if Katrina's tee to green performance is top in the field, clearly can match Paige Pierce, and I think exceed Paige Pierce outside of just pure open bomber holes. And, when she's got the putter going the way that she did this weekend, it's lights out. I mean, if she plays like this at Worlds, she's going to win Worlds. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing. People are going to be quick, and we talked about it last week. If Paige Pierce loses this weekend, Paige Pierce loses this weekend, I mean, is this an Honestly, I don't even know that it is. Paige Pierce averaged almost 990 golf this weekend. and these days you often have to average over 1,000 to win in a tournament in FPO, but she played well. I don't think she maybe played her absolute best, but she played well outside of the second round where, she probably want to get a couple strokes back. But even if she gets those strokes back and she shoots another 59 in the second round instead of the 65 that she shot, she still loses by 2 strokes to Catrina Allen. In my mind, this is not Paige Pierce, not achieving at a high level. This is Catrina Allen playing her best golf of the season, and she would have beaten Paige Pierce even if Paige played her A game. I don't even know that Paige didn't play her A game.
So I guess I've got 2 takeaways from that, and I'm going to ask you 2 different questions then, based on what you just said. If you think that this was Catrina's best game, and that at Paige's best game, or A game, and if she did play her A game, that she wasn't catching Catrina at this course, do you think that Catrina's ceiling for any given weekend is higher than Paige's?
Ceiling.
Just any weekend
yes.
They show up on a course. Yes. You think Catrina's ceiling's higher?
I would say they're very on par.
Okay.
It's 1A and 1B. I think that Paige has proven career to be a better putter. At least from circle 1.
Absolutely.
Catrina from circle 2 has been spectacular. I'm gonna actually pull up the season stats because I want to know, how good exactly has she been? She's second on tour in circle 2 putting so far this year. So, and after this weekend is now up to 12th in circle 1X putting. Now, everywhere else on the course, I think that Catrina, again, meets or exceeds what Paige can do, except raw distance. So, when we talk about ceiling, I think if both players are playing their absolute best and, hitting 90+% of their putts, then it's a very close battle, and it probably depends on course who wins. But I don't think that Paige is necessarily that much far better than Catrina when Catrina's putt is falling. I just don't. I think that you can see it right here in the results from this weekend to see that that's, that shows it.
Yeah. Then my second question that kind of follows up with this, because I think I agree with you. I think that in terms of if they both showed up at Worlds, for example, and played the best golf that they both possibly could play, I think that the spectators who are there are definitely going to get their money's worth. That's for certain. But my question then is, we talked a little bit about this last week, and I think in the FPO side, you have every week. Lately, it's been a different FPO player who has exceeded expectations and just played absolutely brilliant. We know that Paige can play up to that level, but she hasn't. And so I think you're right that it is an anomaly how well Catrina played. And not to say that she can't do it again, but like you said, a 1041 rated round is exceptional. Do you think it's a problem though for that Paige, when she's getting beat in these tournaments, isn't able to turn on the gas when she needs to? Because I know you say that that you don't think it's as big of a problem, but I'm not quite so certain that we shouldn't say that Paige needs to do something different. Something needs to change, because we know that Paige has the ability to play at this level of golf too. We know that Paige has the ability to play at the same level of golf as Sarah Hokum played last weekend. I don't think Paige was there, but given that that's the case, why isn't Paige playing that level of golf?
That's a great question. Why is a great question. And I think Paige herself has basically admitted that she's not playing her best. Mm-hmm. But I do think there's a couple things, and she even pointed this out in a recent Instagram post. And I'm going to see if I can pull it up. She said basically that FPO has just improved so much to the point where, Kona Panis is coming out and winning an Elite Series event, that it's not good enough just to, be good. You have to be great to win a tournament these days.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a really good sign for the division overall. And I really agree with her on that point. But I mean, she's also basically admitted that she's not playing her best. And she said this week, literally an hour ago, this is a brand new post. This weekend required 1008 rated golf to win. This is something I know I am capable of, but I came up short of matching Catrina's stellar performance this week. My game feels good when I'm present, as I saw this week. Now I just need to clean up a couple of those bogeys and get my putt dialed in for the next stretch of events. I want to walk up to my putt and know it's in. This is going to require a lot more reps than I've been putting in. Shout out to Catrina for that second round score, possibly the best I have ever seen you play 18 holes. Wow. Every putt was dialed in. It didn't matter how far. It was a lot of fun to watch. Oh, wow. And we actually knew this. Paige is skipping DDO, and she's actually going to Hawaii for, as in her words, a reset and recharge. See you all at OTB Open. So there you go. I mean, why? Paige's got a lot going on. She's got the, this new sponsorships. She spent a lot of time this offseason in Hawaii, now going back to Hawaii. Maybe needs that sort of mental reset, but, also seems to be acknowledging that she needs to practice more putting in that statement on her Instagram. So it's hard for me to pinpoint why. I just think it comes down to, you can't lose focus at that top level. You have to play with purpose and energy every single round, or you will not win. And I think Paige's, baseline skills are going to put her into, a second place finish like this weekend, regardless of whether she's playing her absolute best or not. So, I mean, it's an interesting little note there from Paige Pierce.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that choosing to miss DDO, a tournament that, if I'm not mistaken, she has been historically very good at, she won last year with the big TV coverage.
Yep.
I think that means that, and she does need that reset, I think, and I think it's going to be good. And I really hope that she comes back, the dominant Paige Pierce that we've seen. And because I want to see a showdown like this at Worlds, I want to see a showdown like this at the OTB Open when she comes back. So I hope that reset is everything that she needs, because Paige just hasn't. And like you said, even though she played great this weekend, seeing Paige get beat by 8 strokes doesn't feel like Paige. So
very interesting. Well, we'll have to keep an eye on it. Let's take a look over at MPO. Ricky Wysocki, folks, is just playing on another level right now. And we'll look at the Jonesboro stats in a second. But I just want to bring this up because we talked about it a little bit last year, and I think it's now an opportunity to basically have gone almost a full calendar year at this point since the restart after the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. And if you recall, Ricky started the year, in 2020, not playing his best golf. We go into the 3-month hiatus. He comes back out and proceeds to finish inside the top 5 at all but one event in 2020. He has now continued to do that. He finished 11th at Waco. Otherwise, he's been inside the top 5 and now has 2 Elite Series wins on the season, plus a Silver Series win head-to-head over Paul McBeth at Belton. He has won 3 Elite Series events since the restart, to McBeth's 2 and Calvin's 1. So if you go back to when people really went back on tour for real, since, June of 2020, there has been no better player on the planet. And it's not just what happened this last 2-3 weeks. This has just been Ricky was probably certainly arguably the best player last year after the restart. And now that has continued. And, the way he played this weekend, going head to head against the other 3 best players on the planet in the final round on the lead card, I mean, the pressure's on him. He comes away, he gets the win. And that's just how good he's been.
And if you watch the Jonesboro coverage, Calvin, Eagle, I mean, they looked like they were still playing well. Like, it wasn't that they had bad weekends or bad rounds that lost it for them. I think that right now, every tournament is Ricky Wysocki's to lose. If he plays top level, I don't think Calvin, Eagle, Paul. I mean, if Ricky plays his game, if he's playing the way it continues to play the way he does, I think those three are going to still have a hard time catching him, even if they played lights out as well. Ricky looks unstoppable right now, and it's incredible to watch.
And you know, he's finding ways to get it done with the versatility of his game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he wasn't number one in strokes gained from tee to green. That title went to Calvin Heimberg. He wasn't number one in strokes gained putting. That title went to Eagle McMahon. But he was easily top 10 in both. He was second in tee to green. And, you know, goes out there in the final round when it's like push your chips into the table time and shoots, tied for the hot round at 11 under with Kevin Jones. And like you said, I mean, you look at what the other guys are doing. They played pretty well. Calvin shot an 8 under. Eagle shot a 10 under. Macbeth had a kind of another surprising final round blow up. We can talk about that. He shot a 4 under, which, you know, isn't like awful, but it was the worst score of anybody inside the top 10. But, you know, Ricky is just, I mean, he didn't get a bogey this weekend. I mean, the dude is just dialed. Like, I don't really know what else there is to say. I mean, and so many of these holes, he's not even having to putt. You know, he goes out there and gets 11 birdies in the final round, and he only had 5 Circle 1X putts. Like, now, obviously, some of those were because of the Circle 2 putts beforehand, but like, he's tapping in for birdie on a ton of holes. And like, that just goes to show you where his game is at.
Yeah. I think what's amazing about Ricky's game right now, he also, as you mentioned, no bogeys. He had no OB shots, not a one.
Wow.
Everybody's going to make mistakes on the putting green. You can put yourself 20 feet out of position. That might mean you're going to have a little bit more difficult approach. I don't remember which hole number it was, but there was in round 2 when it was a little bit windier. Ricky laid up for par on one of the more difficult par 3s. And he's still just utterly dominating the field. Like, he's not attacking everything. He's not playing overly aggressive and it's just working out. He had one in round 1 that he missed an inside Circle 1 putt that Ricky, I think it was within 20 feet. I mean, just something that you just don't expect Ricky to miss. Mm-hmm. And so it's not to say that Ricky isn't making mistakes and, just like other guys, but he's not going out of bounds. He's not making mistakes that are costing 2 or 3 or 4 strokes. Sure. And, even though he was only 9th in C1X putting, that 9th was at 91.3%, right. Which at that point, I can't imagine. I wish I would have looked up the percentage for the first place, but could not have been significantly different in terms of percentage wise. So Ricky's making mistakes too, but it just looks like he knows exactly how he wants to play, exactly the shots he wants to make. And, in round 1 of the Jomez coverage, Yuli said that Ricky's in a chatty mood, which means he's comfortable, which means that nobody else should be comfortable. So Ricky's playing great.
Yeah. And so let's talk a little bit about Paul Macbeth. Like, Paul still finished inside the top 5. Mm-hmm. And, he continues to be clearly one of the best players out there. But is it time to worry a little bit about like where he's at in relation to the other top players? Because he just hasn't looked super sharp really much of this entire year.
He hasn't. And I think something that's noteworthy is that Paul's playing more events than he usually plays.
Certainly playing more Silver Series than he ever has before.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's going to Mid-America Open. He played the Open at Belton. So he is sitting out some. He's not playing as many. I think Ricky's playing probably the most of these top guys. But Paul is sitting some events out. But he's playing more Silver Series. I honestly don't know. I don't know because it doesn't even look in a lot of cases, except for the Open at Belton. Paul isn't even. It's not even like he's even pushing at that first place. He's having rounds that almost disqualify him from the ability to even make a charge in the last 9 that Paul's kind of known for, and so I think. I mean, something is obviously off. I'm interested to know if it has anything to do with that ankle injury that I know he said over the offseason, the past, just about a month before tour started, he said that he was doing a lot better because he, some doctors have been able to help him out. But I don't know if it's injury. I don't know if it's mental. But Paul doesn't look like Paul, much like Paige doesn't look like Paige right now. It's not normal that he's getting beat because he took 5th. You're right, but he lost by 10 strokes to Ricky.
Yeah.
35 to 25,
where he's like in position to maybe make a run, a little Tiger Sunday action, and then he has a bad final round, like actively bad. That's what happened this weekend. We've seen it happen earlier this year too. That basically happened at Vegas, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
Now look, he's still 3rd on the point standings in both the National Tour and the Pro Tour. So like we don't need to be like sky is falling about it. But look, it's one number, it's one stat. You ready for it? He's top 5 in every single category statistically on UDisc except one. Which do you think that it is?
Is it Circle 1 putting, Charlie?
Circle 1 putting. 23rd on tour. This is pedestrian. He's shooting 81%. That's not acceptable for a player of his caliber. It's just not. And he would say the same thing. And why? I mean, who knows? We see players go through this where the putting just kind of escapes them for a little bit. And that's really the difference. He's first in both Circle 1 and Circle 2 in regulation on tour. And we talked about it last week. If you're doing that, then you're probably in a great position to be getting birdies, but not if you're not hitting your Circle 1X putts.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that couple strokes here, couple strokes there. It changes things to be in the lead heading into the final round. Because we know Macbeth doesn't care about finishing second. He wants to win. And what that means is he's going to press, and when he presses, he might make mistakes, and he might end up having a bad final round. And that's going to happen, and I'm sure he'd rather take 5th trying to win than take 2nd trying to play for 2nd. So that is what it is, but I think ultimately, he's got to pick up the putt. It's that simple.
And I think it's I think we are rightfully pointing out that 10 strokes under Ricky is a lot. As you mentioned, though, Paul doesn't care about second place. Given that that's the case, especially with the way Ricky is playing right now, I think that might have some more explanations of those final rounds. Because maybe in the past, when other players, you could wait and kind of play back and wait for the last stretch, right, the last 2-3 holes to really, before you're like, okay, I'm down 1 stroke and it's the last hole, I need to go for it. If you are not aggressively pushing Ricky, he's never going to give you an inch right now. And, so maybe Paul's got the right game. Maybe Paul is going to be the only one who's actually able to beat Ricky when he's on the top of his game like this, because Paul's willing to push. But it does mean that there's a lot of events I'm worried that Paul's going to be 3rd, 4th, 5th and he's going to bring himself out of contention in the front 9. I honestly think he was out of the race by the front 9 of the final round. Like,
oh, no question.
Yeah.
He was 2 over through 5. Ricky was 2 under. That was it.
It was over. And, I don't know. I don't, as someone who is very, enjoys rocking the MA2 scene, I don't want, I'm hesitant to say, that Paul's strategy is not the right one, but there is some merit, I think, to a strategy of just trying to match Ricky and wait. But if Ricky doesn't make mistakes, then maybe that's insufficient too. It's hard. It's a weird season when Ricky is dominating when it feels like with very little pressure around him.
Well, I mean, what do you think about the way that Calvin Heimberg and Eagle McMahon played, your second and third place finishers?
I thought they played well, but by the back nine, when I was watching it, I mean, Calvin was still in it, but I'm trying to remember, I'm pulling up the scores right now because I want to see I think so. They were in good shape. I think the bogey on hole 11 for Calvin, where Ricky is birdieing 10. So Calvin pars 10, bogey's 11. Ricky pars 10 or birdies 10 and pars 11. Yep. And at that point, that's 2 strokes that Ricky pulls ahead. And as soon as that happened, I mean, at that point, it felt like it was a battle for second place. Even if Calvin was in, because I mean, he didn't finish far behind. He's only a couple, 4 strokes. That's a lot. That's a comfortable margin. But even at times when Calvin was within 1 or 2, I was more interested in the Calvin Eagle battle than I was in the Calvin Ricky battle, because it just felt like no one was going to touch Ricky, and it felt like Ricky knew that.
Yeah, he kept making the shots when he needed to. Like, even when he would give up a stroke, he'd get it right back.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm encouraged by the way Eagle played specifically. I mean, Calvin has been just so rock solid. I mean,
yeah.
You know, if Ricky wasn't winning these tournaments, like, you'd say Calvin's the best player right now. I mean, he's the number 2 guy right now. I don't even think there's any question about it. The way Eagle bounced back this weekend, you know, I know he ends up losing by 7 strokes, but he played pretty well. Like, just a few too many mistakes, right? He's got a bogey in round 1. He's got a bogey in round 2. He's got a double bogey in round 3. And already, you know, that's basically it, because Ricky's not making those mistakes. So, you know, you clean those little things up and then you're going to be in great shape. I think, you know, if you're an Eagle fan, you feel good because he's, you know, coming off maybe the upper back injury. Like, what's his situation? For him to come in and clearly be competitive and get a top 3 finish shows you that, you know, he's fine. And it's just a matter of kind of tuning up those little mistakes.
So I know Ultiworld's working on their power rankings right now, but for your personal power rankings, Charlie, I mean, based on what you said, and I think I would agree, it feels like Ricky is the number 1 right now. He's the favorite.
Unquestionable.
Yeah, playing great. Calvin feels like the number 2.
Yep.
Who's your number 3?
I'm trying to remember what I put in my ballot. I'm pretty sure I had Macbeth.
You had Macbeth. Okay.
Because here's the thing. People always grade Macbeth against, like, him winning everything, as opposed to, like, looking at his actual performances and, like, determining it based on that. And, like, that's kind of what comes with the territory of being, you know, the greatest player of a generation.
Sure.
But, like, when you actually sit down and you look at how he's played overall in 2020, you know, 9th at Vegas, 5th at Waco, 2nd at the Silver Series at Belton, 3rd at Texas State's, 5th at Jonesboro. Like, I don't really know that anybody else is really matching that level of consistency at the top level. I think, you know, you could look at Eagles results as well and say, you know, the win outweighs that. But Eagle, you know, over the last 2 events, basically before this one, was not playing very well. So
yeah,
I think, you know, you're coin flipping there. I think those 2 guys are clearly the next 2 on the list.
I agree. I was curious which one you put. I think Paul's a good choice. But it's like you said, it's good to see Eagle back up. One other thing of note that I would like to add, it's great to see Kevin at the top again. He's had not a bad season, but I don't think Kevin's really been in the contention to win any tournament this season, has he?
Not really. Not really. I mean, his best finish is this weekend in 4th. He was 5th at Texas State's. He was 7th at Vegas. But he also has some, like, you know, he was 54th at Waco and he was 32nd at the Vintage Open. He's just been a little inconsistent. And like, even in the tournaments where he's finished inside the top 10, part of the problem basically has been inconsistency within the tournament.
Yeah.
That, you know, has a bad round that keeps him from really being super competitive. You know, he shot a 58 in round 2 this weekend, which is 1028 rated. That's not terrible, but you have to be shooting that 53 that he shot in round 3 each of the rounds if you want to win.
Yep. So it's good. It's good to see him back to playing again. I hope it's a little more consistent. But the 11 under 53 great round for the final round with a 8 under back 9 was good to see from him.
Don't look now, but Adam Hammes is heating up, folks. Back-to-back top 5 finishes. 5th this weekend, tied with Macbeth and Casey White, who we're going to be talking to in just a moment here on the show. Chris Dickerson, 8th place, continuing to play very solid. Not quite the Dickerson that we saw in 2020 so far, but very solid. Miles Seaborn, 9th place, and then at 10th, 3 players tied, Drew Gibson, Nicola Castro, and Ben Callaway. So nice job, Ben Callaway. At one point, I think was leading the tournament in round 1, if I recall correctly, or was it certainly up there? So that's your look at Jonesboro. Back to FPO just for a moment. We obviously talked about Catrina and Paige. Sarah Hokum keeps playing really well. She finishes on the podium in 3rd place. And a fun story from this weekend, Macy Walker, leading the tournament after round 1, hasn't played in any Elite Series event this season so far. And so she comes out and ends up finishing in 4th place. And then, lots of the other strong players that we see on the FPO side of things kind of rounding out the top 10. Kona Panis, Erica Stinchcomb, Missy Gannon, Heather Young, Haley King, Alexis Monduhano. I'm going to be really curious to see what we see from Macy Walker later this year. So, yeah, exciting, strong performance from her this weekend. She was first at the tournament in Circle 2 in regulation. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're talking to Casey White right here on The Upshot. The Upshot is presented by Pound Disc Golf, makers of the best bags in the sport. Make sure you set your calendar for May 1st, 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. The custom programs will reopen. You got to check out their custom Octothorpe pack builder. You get exactly the colors that you want, every element of the bag customizable, and check these out. If you're watching on the YouTube for the show here, just some absolutely beautiful bags, all designed by their owners just the way they want them. And so you can get yours if you're quick on the draw on May 1st at pounddiscgolf.com. Joining us now on the Upshot is Casey White, who's coming off of another very strong top 10 finish, tied for 5th this weekend at the Jonesboro Open. Casey, welcome to the Upshot.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you. I'm just going to go ahead and put this out there right now. We just opened up the ballots at Ultiworld Disc Golf for our power rankings. So, we're kind of looking at the first 4 Pro Tour events of the season, kind of, I don't know if we're at the quarter way mark yet, but more or less, we're kind of the early season is done. And I'm going through my top 10. It's my personal top 10. We aggregate this with the computer algorithm and everything else. And here I'm looking at the back end of my top 10, and I'm like, I got to put Casey White in my top 10. So for the first time, you're in my top 10. You're at number 7 in my ballot. So congrats for that. You've been playing some really inspired disc golf. What's this 2021 season been like for you so far?
As far as I feel it and see it and live it, it's just a fulfillment of a lot of hard work and determination and just everything that I've basically dreamed of or worked for. It's just kind of all just feeling like it's all being put into place, and I'm where I belong, and I'm where I want to be with my career and my life. And it's just everything's moving forward and things are looking good.
For the 2021 season, I know you came off of the big sponsorship increase with Discmania, where they promoted you to the full-time tour team. What were your goals coming into the season? Did you have any set fixed goals of what you wanted to accomplish?
Yeah, I don't really like to set like huge goals. I mean, once I hit 10-10 last year, my next goal was 10-20. I know rating doesn't really matter, but it's obviously just like a sign of like gross improvement or anything like that. You know what I mean? But I just knew the people that I was on the tier with now in the tour team, and obviously Simon and Eagle are on their own level. So I just wanted to just show that not only did I belong on the tour team, but I belonged to be on the top of the tour team. So I just kind of wanted to just prove that. And even though I'm kind of new to the team, I just wanted to set my foot in like the right spot and just kind of be here solid. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Sure. You know, looking back at your rating over time, you know, you're in the 990s or thereabouts for, you know, a couple years there through 2019.
Yep.
You finally cracked to 1,000 in October of 2019. Mm-hmm. And as of April 13th, you know, last week, you get to 1019, your highest of all time. That's quite a substantial step forward from, you know, being obviously a very good disc golfer up in the 990s, but to get up to, you know, right on the border of being at that 1020 mark and playing the way that you're playing, how have you managed to make that much progress in that amount of time, especially as somebody who's been, you know, playing for a while?
For me, I mean, it hasn't really been like, it's nothing like I put in X amount of hours and see this come out of it. It's more so it's just like disc golf has always been and hopefully always will be what I want to do. And it's not practice for me. It's just like it's fun, and everything in my life involves disc golf. So like if I say that I'm going to practice putt, it's not because I feel like I have to, it's because I want to. And if I want to go throw in a field and just throw the discs out of the back of the van, it's because I want to, not because I'm like, I need to learn this skill or I need to be able to throw this shot. So over time, it's just kind of grown naturally, and I've just grown more comfortable with my shots and obviously more comfortable on tour and just in a higher caliber tournament. So like 2019 was the first season that I was coming into the season at like that high 990 mark. So I had that pressure on myself, like get to the 1,000 rating. And sure, I didn't hit it until the last update of the season, right after I got my first 8-tier win. But then last year when COVID hit, I just kind of like, I don't know what you want to say, not so much plateaued because there wasn't any tournaments, but I had to just sit at that low 1,000 mark for the first 5 months. And then once we picked it back up, I was able to play a little bit better and then eventually hit 10-10. And now things are just a little different, and I'm just picking up the pace a little bit and hopefully getting to 10-20 at the next update.
Yeah, if you keep playing the way you are, I don't think that should be any problem. At the beginning of the season, it seemed like you had a little bit of, I would say, a slow start. 43rd at LVC, 54th at Waco. Since then, though, you haven't missed the top 10. And we commented last week that, you know, we got into the woods golf and the, you know, New England style golf, and that was something that really benefited you. But a tie for 5th at Jonesboro is a course known for distance. So what was the contribution to the slow start? How did you overcome that? Was it just getting used to tour? Talk a little bit about that.
This has been my 4th year in a row starting my season in Vegas. So I would not blame it on anything about like starting the tour. As far as I'm concerned, I mean, Vegas is just not a course that suits me. This year, I definitely didn't play at my best, but I could have done a lot worse. We had a long, cold winter in Minnesota. So we, coming into the off-season like break, meaning like breaking into full season swing, my girlfriend and I had only played about 3 full rounds of disc golf in 2021 when we drove down to Arizona. And then we played a round or 2 at like Fountain Hills, and then we threw in the field just to like, you know, acclimate ourselves in warmer weather without 5 layers on. And then once we got to Vegas, we just started practicing. And the practice rounds, I knew something was a little off. Like my angles were just not correct. And I just kind of scrapped it in the tournament, just did what I could. And then Waco, I definitely felt more comfortable. I felt like I was back into tour swing because we actually played a B tier in between, and I shot really well. I had a 1030 and a 1040 round. But I still just wasn't sharp on my game. Like I 3-putted the last hole of the tournament to miss cash by 1 stroke. So that definitely didn't sit with me well. And after you do that, you just kind of light a fire under yourself. And then the next week I went out at Belton and was, until Paul and Ricky came in on the first day, I was leading the tournament. And then I just ended up taking 6th place. And that's a wide open course. So I can't really claim to my New England roots for that one either, but Dogwood was kind of where I took off and was like, all right, this is where I belong and I can manage this course well compared to the field. And yeah, and then since then I've just kind of had a different level of confidence and just knew what I was capable of.
I mean, and the stats bear it out. You know, for 2021, you're 5th on tour in fairway hits.
Yep.
You're 6th in Circle 1X putting. I mean, we know you're a great putter. That's not a surprise. But like, you know, you're top 25 in many of these major categories. And, you know, do you attribute that to this new level of confidence, or, you know, is this just what you expect of yourself at this point? You feel that you're at the point where, you know, you're going to be competing to win these tournaments?
I'm definitely on a hot streak right now. I can't say that it's not like, I can't say it's a fluke because I don't feel like it is, but at the same time, I can't say like when it comes down to, I don't know, USDGC, you're going to put me in your top 5 picks, but it's just the fact that I'm feeling good and my game feels like everything's clicking. But something that I've always paid attention to is definitely my Circle 1X, because I feel like I've never been one to throw the farthest or, you know, wow the crowd. But as long as I am putting myself in position, if I can clean up in the green, like that's the only thing I can pride myself on, is if you give yourself the chance, you have to clean it up. And at my first World Championships, I was 100% in the circle, leading the tournament through 4 rounds of the World Championships at Smugs. And ever since then, I've just kind of been really hard on myself as far as like making my Circle 1 putt, just because I knew if I can do it at that caliber of an event, I can do it anywhere. So until this year, I actually only cared about my Circle 1X stats and my scramble stat, because that means I wasn't bogeying. And now I look at my stats, and what used to be one of my worst stats, which was birdie percentage, is now one of my best. I think I'm 11th in birdie percentage on tour.
Right.
I thought that was incredible. I was like, this is insane. But my scramble is only, what am I? I'm like 100th place on tour. I feel like, yeah. And
50%. Unacceptable, yeah. Casey.
Yeah. And I actually was shocked by that, but I was talking with my girlfriend, Alyssa, and she's like, well, that's because you're throwing less bad shots, meaning that if you get off the fairway, if you only get up and down once out of 2 times, then that means you're at 50%. And I'm like, that's a good way to look at it. But like, it's just crazy to think about.
Right.
So, sounds like you got a pretty good coach going along with you then.
Yeah.
Speaking of that Circle 1 putting, I mean, I know Ulti World listeners are always looking for tips and ways to improve. So what about your routine, whether that be like a practice routine or, you know, in tournament, what is it that you've done to make yourself a great Circle 1X putter?
Yeah, definitely a routine. It's kind of like you need to find a routine that you don't think about. Like, I mean, if I could break it down, it'd be like, mine would be set my mini down, hit my putter with my sports sack, and like fan my hand, wipe my hand on my shorts. Like it's a bunch of finicky stuff, but it's just the fact that it's like if you can find an unconscious routine that you don't step up to the putt and you're like, okay, now do this and now do that. It's just like, this is what I do when I putt. And this is like, as far as I'm concerned, that's like when I am completely zoning out, and that's when it's time to go to work. Like on a tee shot, I feel like I can be like mid conversation and then step up and throw a tee shot and it's going to land good no matter what, or like whether I'm in a conversation or not, I can still throw the same shot. But like a putt is when I zone everything out and I just kind of like become this unconscious focused, I don't know what you want to call it, but just really lock it down and don't let anything bother me. And having, like I said, having an unconscious routine that you know and rely on and don't have to think about, and every time it's just like you're clocking in and you're getting the job done.
So I know you've been a known name in the Northeast for some time, and you've won the New England championships and you've won the Maine state championships. And, you know, if you live in the Northeast, Casey White's a name you've probably known for a few years at this point. But I think, you know, I live in New York, not quite I mean, it's the Northeast, but like, it's not quite New England, you know, as living in the city.
It's NEFA, but not New England technically, but New England disc golf, we kind of include it.
Right. I mean, I go up and play some of those courses for sure, but I'm not like in that scene as much. So I didn't really know about you, and I imagine that I'm like a lot of other people until I saw you on Simon Lizotte's vlog. Mm-hmm. And this was kind of an exposure to you in a broader sense. I mean, you'd obviously played at big tournaments, pro tours, but when you're finishing in the, you know, 50th, let's say, it's not necessarily going to get noticed. Even if that's still a very good performance. So is that the experience? Does it feel like that blew you up in a sense? Now, obviously, your game is now speaking for itself very much so this last 6 weeks. But here we are watching you on the vlog, like playing holes better than Simon, and him being like, "Wow, Casey, wow, great shot." There's like a lot of that, and I was like, "Wow, this Casey White, like, who is this guy?" And now here you are as one of the best players on tour right now. So like, it just feels like very meteoric to me. We talk about some of these other young players who are coming up, and we were just doing a segment on the show last week about, who's having the best season among young players on tour. I know you're a listener, so maybe you heard it.
I did.
And we were talking about, are you there? I think after this weekend, there's no question that it's you at this point. So, I mean, this just feels so fast and sudden, and like you're on the vlog in 2020 and then boom, like now you're killing it on tour. Is this connected? Like, did this vlog exposure like get you ready for the big time in some sense?
Yeah, the vlog definitely helped as far as exposure for sure. Like I nonstop, once Simon started putting me in basically like every video, if not every other, I definitely started to see like my follower count go up. But not only that, but like confidence, just like people knowing who I was and having fans rooting for me. Like once we started the tour last year after COVID, I had played disc golf. I had either played disc golf or worked on building my disc golf course every day from the end of April all the way up until Simon and I left for tour. So there was like no stopping practice or anything like that. Just everything was revolved around it. So once we hit tour and I cashed at a couple events and then won a tournament in Minnesota, it just kind of like, I don't know, as far as I was concerned, it was just confidence building, and I just felt better and better every weekend and just knew that I was slowly becoming the player that I knew I could be. And people always like to say, like, I don't know if you guys have seen the Jonesboro coverage yet, but I threw my tilt up and over the trees with a forehand and at no chain to dunk on 14. And like somebody commented like that practice with Simon is paying off. And I'm like, I'm coming out a forehand up and over a tree. Like, I don't know. It goes both ways. Like spending that much time filming and everything like that definitely helps. But like most of the things, it was like indirect, like just being exposed to a player of that high caliber that many times. And especially like what you were just saying, like if I would throw a really good shot that even I was like super proud of, but then just to hear Simon be like, wow, that was crazy good. Like great shot. Like that's just a little bit of extra, like, yeah, I guess it is like, that's an impressive shot. Like I just laid that shot down and in front of the camera. So it's just like, I don't know, kind of like that less pressure being in front of a camera, more comfortability being at a bigger event, especially now on the live broadcast or what have you. It's kind of an unconscious thing. Like I don't think about it anymore, but at the same time, it's like, it's more so belonging. Like I feel like I belong in front of the camera.
Mm-hmm. I think there's some kind of like conspiracy going on with all these tilt highlights this year, like big disc mania coming in and like doing weird magnet stuff on the I mean like some of the most memorable shots from live coverage this year. Well, this wasn't live, I guess this was on Gatekeeper. But some of the most memorable just shots period have been with the tilt. And if people haven't seen it, they have to go check this out. Giant shot up over the trees and literally just straight into the basket.
Yeah, I birdied that hole every round, and every time it was the first round was with like a big putt. The second round I parked it, and then the third round was an up and over tilt, no chain dunk.
from 85 feet. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you say that you're finding yourself more comfortable in front of cameras thanks to the vlog, and you joking with the Gatekeeper camera guy definitely made that seem to be the case. What was it like playing with spectators for you? Is that something that you're accustomed to? I mean, you've been on the lead card a couple times now, but Jonesboro obviously being the first tournament with spectators back, was that different? Was that weird? Did you feel an increased sense of pressure from that?
No, if anything, I think I thrive off of it. Like if there's people cheering and stuff like that. So I don't know if you guys have watched much of the past year. Obviously pre-COVID is different than now with tournaments, but pre-COVID Maple Hill Open has one of the most insane crowds you'll ever see at a disc golf tournament. They're screaming and yelling. And especially with me being from Massachusetts, I just step up to the first tee. I haven't even thrown a shot in the tournament yet, and they're already going nuts. Like it doesn't even matter who you are. But, that has definitely trained me in a way, just being with my hometown crowd. And last year at the Greater Hartford Open, we had some spectators as well, and that's only in Connecticut. So same type of deal, like definitely like a hometown crowd rooting me on. But this weekend, we were actually standing around the practice green, and somebody would just park hole one or put it inside the circle, and the people would go nuts. And I think we were standing with Ricky, and Ricky's like, sounds like every shot's an ace. And I'm like, yeah, it's just because we're not used to applause, and they're not used to being here. So people are just happy to see a disc thrown well in person. Like, these people are just here, and they're excited and just yelling and screaming, you know?
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be crazy when we come back to full crowds.
Yeah.
In, you know, whenever that happens. World should have a pretty sizable audience. And
yeah, that'll be something new for sure.
Right. You know, just to go back to this real quick, like, what's your relationship with Simon like? When did you get to know him? How did he end up putting you on the vlog? Like, how has that relationship progressed over time?
All right. So it was 2018 that I started like traveling for tournaments. So when I started traveling, I just kind of was like there. Like, I did the Northeast swing, which was like Nantucket and Maple Hill, and then the World Championships. And once I started playing well, Simon like knew like, oh yeah, I was like that kid, his name is Casey White. You know what I mean? Like, that's just what it was. It wasn't like, oh, he's insanely good or I want to be his friend. It was nothing like that. But then like Prince Edward Island, I was playing better than him, and I almost beat him at Worlds. But I don't know if you know Team Challenge, but Winter Team Challenge in New England is like a home course style team thing. And Simon was playing for Maple Hill, and our team, Buffinville, played him, and we actually landed on the same card. And he had just started his YouTube channel, like maybe 1 or 2 videos into his YouTube channel. And I was just like, hey, I know like people kind of are crazy about you showing up to their course. So I was wondering, like, I have a course in my house if you want like a whatever private place that nobody can show up to the first tee and, you know, spectate your YouTube filming. So I was just kind of allowing him that. And I was like, we can film trick shots or whatever you want. Like, it'll be whatever you want to make of it for the YouTube channel. And he just said, let me know when you have a day off. I'll be going to Texas for this tournament. But then the next day off that I had, I texted him and he said, well, I'm going to film this 600-foot ace. And I was like, okay. And he's like, do you want to come? And I was like, yeah, what happens if we don't hit the 600-foot ace? He said, well, we're going to make a video about not hitting a 600-foot ace. Right. Well, sounds like I can help. So he ended up meeting me, and he drove us out like an hour away from my house. And I'm sure you've seen the video of us throwing off of that cliff, but it happened to be the one shot that was thrown in was by me. So I can't really argue much about that. But I felt like after that point, he had no obligation but to, I don't know, put me in further videos if I was able to execute that shot. From there on, I mean, it wasn't just like, oh, he's a kid that's from around here and he's pretty good. It's just like he can film, and he needed a camera guy too. So we would go out, and for the first couple of videos, it wasn't really much. Like, he'd still film without me, and then every once in a while, he'd be like, I'm going to go play this course. Do you want to come? But it wasn't really until the 2020 or 2019 season ended, I came home from a trip to Minnesota, and he filmed at one of my favorite courses in Massachusetts, and then I got another ace. So it was just kind of like, I don't know, everything just kind of made sense, and he just, I don't know. Yeah, exactly. And I had fun filming, and he appreciated my camera work because I don't just hold the camera and say, are you done throwing yet? Like, I'm focused and I'm zooming exactly where he needs me to zoom. And he appreciated that. So it just kind of worked out. And I didn't mind. Like, we filmed a couple videos at Maple Hill. I don't know if you've ever seen the Simon Lines video at Maple Hill where he plays the easiest course and shoots like 9 down on 9 holes. But he needed one guy to just film all these shots going to the moon and then coming back down into the circle and stuff like that. And I wasn't even featured in the video, but I still had fun filming. And I think once he saw that, and he was just like, all right, like, we can do this on the regular. And after that, when COVID hit, it was just kind of off from there.
And I know last episode we speculated a little bit about his recovery. I don't know how much time you spent with him over the past couple months, but do you think that he's ready to come back? Like, have you talked to him at all, or what's any insight you've got?
Yeah, he's definitely, he like you said, he's able to throw 450 feet with no pain. And I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I throw 450 feet with no pain every time I go out there. So like, I mean, I'm capable of more, but what I actually unleash on the course is probably not much more. So I feel like if I can do it, he can do it. And as far as I'm concerned, he's one of the best putters that you'll ever see, like as far as form and spin and all that. So, I mean, as long as his game is sharp, I think that he can do exactly what he has been doing. It's just he's not going to be throwing over the tops of the trees. But he definitely, I don't know. I know that you guys are talking about the Paul McBeth video where he beat Paul at his own course. That was apparently like the hardest course ever. And he's playing a B tier at one of my local courses at Coggeshall Park in Fitchburg, Massachusetts. So, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, that's a pretty stacked field. Two of the best players in Massachusetts are going to be there. Well, obviously I won't be there, but Kyle Moriarty, like he's nobody to mess around with. And Kevin Cole, he's also a super solid player. So it's not like he's just going to be able to cakewalk it. But if he can take that down, especially with some respectable scores, I think he's ready to go.
We'll have to keep an eye on that tournament then.
Yeah, it's a good tournament. It's been running for a couple of years now, and I think the winner is probably going to get close to like $1,000. So he's not just going to be there for fun. Like it'll definitely be some high competition, and he can play that course without throwing even close to max power. So he should be comfortable. I don't think he'll be pushing it.
Yeah, good warm up event.
Mm-hmm.
Did you expect to be playing as well as you are right now heading into the season?
No. I knew it was in there, but Alyssa says that she did. Alyssa thought that I could. And I mean, I knew that I could. Did I think I could this soon? Not really. I usually take mid-season form in like mid-July, but I guess when you're playing every week for the first 5 weeks, that it just kind of, you get to mid-season form pretty soon, as long as it's good weather. But
right.
No, I didn't expect it at all. It just feels like the process that I usually go through at the beginning of every season just kind of expedited itself. And here I am, just, I don't know, kind of on top of my game.
Yeah. And does this change your expectations or goals for the rest of the season? You know, I think at some point you got to start thinking about what your rating's going to be and start thinking about, hey, can I take one of these down?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think that it is definitely possible that I have the capability to go 3 rounds straight shooting what I can in 1 round. So it's just a matter of going out there and doing it at the right course. Like, I obviously have goals and aspirations, but it doesn't matter how well you play one weekend or how good you are at this type of course. It's all about a matter of going out there and executing. Like, for example, I feel more comfortable at any course in the world at the Green Mountain Championship at Smuggler's Notch. And that's one of my best places to play golf. Before this year, that was actually my best finish at a Pro Tour, or until last year, because last year I played really good at Maple Hill. But I had placed 25th there at the GMC and 28th at Worlds. But right. I was just not on it last year. And even though I'm like, this is my place to play golf, I play my best golf here, I was like, not so much struggling to score, but just like struggling to exceed. And I was just thinking to myself, like, if I can just keep this up, like, if I could win the Green Mountain Championship, like, that's my weekend. Like, that's a 4-round tournament. Like, no joke. It's not a fluke. Those are 2 of the best courses in our sport. Like, that would be my ultimate goal, is to win. Obviously, everybody wants to win Worlds or a major, but for my own heart, as far as my favorite course in the world goes, winning the Green Mountain Championship would be pretty special to me.
It's a great goal. So you mentioned, everybody wants to win Worlds. What are your goals for Worlds this year? Do you have a where you want to finish in mind? What are those expectations going into Worlds?
I don't really hold like a number as far as like finish, but like I played really good in my first Worlds, and then the next Worlds at Peoria, I didn't even cash. Like I didn't even come close. It was so bad. So as far as I'm concerned, if I could just place better than my best Worlds finish, which is 28th, I think that would be good. But it doesn't matter if I place 10th or if I place 25th. If I play exceeding my expectations, it doesn't matter what the field does, because I just need to know that I played my best and I didn't like leave a bunch of strokes out there, because if everybody else is going out there and shooting 1070 golf for whatever the top 10, then I can't complain if I finish outside the top 10. But I think that would be the ultimate goal. Like finishing top 10 at a Silver Series is one thing, finishing top 10 at a National Tour or Elite Series is another, but finishing top 10 in a major, that's kind of next level.
Sure.
Right.
So One quick follow-up question, and this requires a little bit of backstory. I obviously saw your finishes last year, like at the main state championship and at the MVP Open. Mm-hmm. And on Facebook, I saw at the beginning of this year, you were selling some Evolution Enigmas, the Vapor Enigmas, to help fund tour. And I had you sign the pair of Enigmas. Yep. If you win Worlds, can I send them back to you, and will you sign 2021 World Champion?
No problem.
Okay, all right.
If I win Worlds in 2030, I'll sign them for
all right.
World Championship.
Okay, I'm holding on to those. Okay. I want that that edition.
All right, that sounds good.
So, let's see here. What's tour life like for you? I'm always curious to hear how different pros approach being on the road and kind of what it's like. And I know, I feel like this is your first time doing like a full-fledged full tour. I know you've traveled for a lot of big pro tour events in the past, like last year, but you're out on the road consistently this whole time now. You're in Missouri now, getting ready for this Mid-America Open coming up. So what's it been like? Are you having fun? Obviously you get to play disc golf every weekend, so that's cool. But like, is it fun to be out on the road?
Yeah, absolutely. I never really traveled like the other pros until this year. So in previous years, I would pick a couple events that I really liked, and I'd fly to the first one, play 2 or 3, and then after the third one, I'd fly home, stay home, play a B tier 2 at home for a month, and then I'd fly to the next one that I wanted to play. So usually it would include skipping events like Jonesboro because it's wide open, or just the other events that I was like not really a fan of because they didn't suit my game. But I definitely had to change that once COVID hit, because there was like flying was kind of like a iffy thing. And just the fact of like, I don't know, showing up to the tournament, and they were like talking about having to get tested for certain tournaments and whatnot. So Simon and I hit the road, and we traveled out of his Audi, but that's like still Airbnbs and stuff. That's not really like, it's not really like the full grind. You know what I mean? Where this last January, my girlfriend Alyssa and I, we bought our van, and with 2 weeks to spare before we were supposed to leave for tour, we built it out, insulated it, put a bed in. And before we even had like shelves to put our clothes on or anything, we literally had a bed frame and everything we needed just piled in the van, and we hit the road.
Wow.
We were just ready to go. We got a brand new starter in the van right before we left, and we were like, no messing around. We're just going for it. And we stopped in Wyoming where she has some family, and they helped us build a shelf, like a nice counter space and some shelving for our clothes and everything like that. And just kind of like, we built ourselves a layout basically. And in a matter of, I think from start to finish, it was like 17 days that we had our complete layout from the day we bought it. But I know in most people's case, they're like, oh, we take, I don't know, up to a year finishing our build. Well, we had 14 days in negative 50-degree weather in northern Minnesota. So we were in a rush to get it done and get south.
Let's get to Arizona.
Yes. As soon as we were done with it in Wyoming, I was just like, if we can just start driving to Arizona, I get happier by the minute. And once we hit the road, it was just, life was good. And we have our dog in our van with us, and she's happy, and she has her own space under our bed. And nowadays, I mean, it's just amazing with the flexibility, because we can drive whatever, a very long drive, and just say, if I can make it, I'll make it. But if not, we stop and we sleep, and then we continue in the morning. And we've never had that option before, where last year toward the end of the season, we were driving in Alyssa's Jeep, and we had like planned an Airbnb, but it would be like, okay, we have to make it to the Airbnb by this time, and then we have to be awake by this time. Mm-hmm. So that was just kind of like stressful things. But like now we're just kind of go with the flow. We have no strict schedule. There's no like structure to where we're headed, or, I mean, obviously there's the tour stops and everything like that. But if we want to spend an extra night at whatever truck stop and not drive 12 hours through the night, then we have that option to do that. And I think the only thing that we haven't really taken advantage of yet is just eating in, because we don't have like a sink or like an oven like some of the other people, like the high class fans have. We have a place to sleep and a place for all our stuff and a place for our dog to sleep. So that's like kind of like we have like the basics, but like as far as I'm concerned, it's all we need. And I mean, I love it. We're having a lot of fun.
That's great. What's your go-to food on the road then?
I love Culver's. Culver's is
Cul-
like
Listen,
prime
that's the facts right there. People
time.
talk about In-N-Out Burger.
No.
People talk about whatever. No, Culver's is the jam, the cheese curds, the
Yep.
burger, and
Yep.
the freaking custards or whatever they're called. Concretes.
Yes.
Oh my
Yes,
God.
yeah.
Culver's is the bomb.
Yeah, Culver's is premium fast food.
I'm hesitant to admit that I've never even heard of Culver's. So
See, that's what I'm saying. People don't know. People don't
I
know.
just don't.
You've heard of In-N-Out. I'm sure
In-N-Out's
you have
gross,
In-N-Out
though.
where you are.
Yeah, In-N-Out. So there's In-N-Out in Idaho. I don't like In-N-Out. I know that I'm probably going to get fried by people for that. I don't care.
In-N-Out is not that good.
It's not.
Thing.
Yeah.
People have made it out to be this amazing fast food, but really it's just not that good. The fries are absolutely terrible.
They're terrible.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
they are. They are.
Culver's is legit.
Okay.
I'll give you this tip though. Blake's Lottaburger, if you go through New Mexico, Blake's Lottaburger, very solid. Get the green chili cheeseburger.
All right. So I have like a burger ranking. It doesn't go by like fast food. Overall, Culver's is like number one.
Okay.
But the burger ranking, I do like Five Guys for the burger. Although some people don't
Good
count
burger.
that as fast food. Some people don't count that as fast food, so they say, "Oh, it doesn't really count." But whatever. For burger, I got Five Guys at number one, and then Culver's, and then we just actually found this one. It's in Austin, Texas. I think it's like only in Austin, Texas. There might be one in Dallas, but it's actually P. Terry's Burger Stand. If you've ever heard of it.
Oh no,
It
I don't know
has, like,
this one.
It has like the secret sauce on it, like a Big Mac or what is it? The In-N-Out Animal Style has on
Mhm.
it. It is premium. Like it is awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
I
That's
have to look
awesome.
out for it. Any word on a signature disc, a Casey White? Do you have a mold pick that you'd want? I mean, I don't know if you've talked to Discmania about that at all. Just I know there's some Discmania fans that I'm sure would love to hear about it.
That was a good question. That is a very frequently asked question. That
I'm
goes
sure.
on the website of FAQ right there. That's a good question. No, there is nothing as far as Discmania goes. As far as everybody else in the world knows, Discmania is just struggling to make plastic in general because Innova's basically given them the lower half of what they can do for them, and Evolution is trying to step up and the Yukon line and all that stuff, but I think that they're way more worried about getting somebody like Eagle a signature disc because he hasn't even had one come out this year. And obviously Simon had the tilt, but he's not on tour. But there's also I think there's just more people that were promised things before I kind of came along and started doing well. So like I know Kyle Klein was talking about he had plans for a signature disc, but I don't know if I have anything in mind. I do have a local sponsor, Disc Golf 978. They're my local pro shop back in Massachusetts. They are going to stamp some discs for me if Discmania can get them some blank molds and get them stamped. They are going to sell some signature discs for me. So that will be officially my first signature disc if we can get it done. But my sponsor Birdie, they've been working really hard to get me a stamp to stamp some discs. But same thing. If there's no discs to stamp, there's no signature series until that happens. But
Yeah.
I do have a couple of things in mind, just knowing what people have for signature series if I were to have one on like the Discmania website. So like my favorites are, I know nobody has come out with like a standard Glow FD3 signature series. Simon has the Doombird, which is the swirly S line, but I don't really throw those. I throw the Glow, not the Color Glow. I mean the Color Glow is okay, but I like the Glow better. And the Lux Instinct is one of my favorites recently. And I know nobody has the Instinct, but if we could do like a vapor, like burst Lux Instinct, I think that would be really cool. And the other one I throw that not a lot of people in Discmania throw is the CD2. So if I could, the C-Line CD2 is like one of my favorite discs that is kind of like, I don't know, I don't want to say like under-mentioned, but more so just kind of like overlooked. People throw the FD or they throw just a distance driver, but the CD2 is one of my favorites. And I think a Color Glow CD2 would be like popping off the shelves. I think that would be super sick.
I'm sure the Discmania fans will be happy to hear about this.
I have to break the hearts of some people who are fans of me and my D-Line MD. I know a lot of people wanted the D-Line MD to be my signature series, but I just don't think that, like, usually signature series is like the disc you want to charge like, $20+ for. But if it's a D-Line disc, it's kind of hard to ask for like that kind of money. So even though it's one of my more signature molds and nobody else really throws it, it just makes more sense to have like that premium plastic or like the limited run.
I mean, how are you experiencing this, the disc shortage life right now? Do you feel like you're getting sufficient support from Discmania despite the fact that, they haven't been able to give you a signature disc yet?
No, I mean, like it's kind of tough. Like everybody I've talked to on tour that's like same tier as me, like Gavin Rathbun and Kyle Klein, they're not really receiving that kind of support that they maybe should or deserve. Like Gavin, I know he's been placing top 5 or been leading after a couple rounds this year and stuff like that. And we're kind of getting the same thing where it's just like they might post about us on their Instagram, but we're not getting like any like direct benefit. You know what I mean? They're not like kind of stepping forward for us, but it is a tough time. And like, I know, like I said, Innova is really not cooperating for them. So it's not like they can just pop off a bunch of molds and sell discs and give us some extra help on tour. But as far as like, I don't know, as far as the team goes, I think that everybody's just kind of doing what they can and just trying to prove themselves so that when the opportunity does come and Discmania is able to support us, they want to just pick us first. You know what I mean?
Sure. All right. Well, you got to, here's a quick one for you. Who's the best player on tour right now?
Right now?
Yeah, right now.
Like out of everybody in the field. Alyssa's pointing at me, but
you can pick yourself if you want, but
I know Ricky Wysocki, that's no doubt. Ricky is red hot. There's nobody even coming close to him as far as I'm concerned. Obviously Calvin won last weekend, but it's like you put him on a course that favors him, he wins. You put him on a course that might favor somebody else, he wins. It's inevitable at this point. And if you don't have him for a favorite for Worlds, then you haven't been watching disc golf.
Sounds about right. That's exactly how I would put it, I think. So,
yeah.
All right, Casey. Well, thanks so much for stopping by. Great to talk with you. What's on your mind as you head into these next few weeks as we kind of go through the Midwest and then out to California?
Well, we are about to play on a wooded course, so I'll be happy to be back in the woods and hopefully see what I can do on this course. I've never played a tournament here before. But then it's back out to the open golf courses for a little bit, including like DDO and Goat Hill and Stockton. Those are all golf course tournaments. So kind of get to be in the woods for a week and then let some more rip out in the wide open. So just, I don't know, if I can keep the top 10 streak alive, that's a solid streak as far as I'm concerned. So I'd be happy to see that.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on the show and talk with us, and good luck this weekend and beyond.
Thank you. And I'll be listening to the show on our long drives. So
awesome. Thanks, Casey. Casey White with us here on the Upshot. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Slow and expensive shipping can put a real damper on your disc buying experience. Well, that's not going to happen at discgolfamerica.com, where you can get $3.95 flat rate shipping, and it's free if you spend just $39. They got mystery boxes of all kinds of discs. You can check out all of their options at discgolfamerica.com. They've got a rewards program, and you know what? You can also save 10%. All you got to do is use code UPSHOT. Fast shipping, cheap or free shipping is exactly what you're looking for when you're buying some new discs. So check it out at discgolfamerica.com. Welcome back to the Upshot. Thanks again to Casey White for stopping by. And what I really like this about Casey, like the persona that you see from him, like on the Simon vlogs, is exactly what we saw here. Just like very affable, great to talk to. I mean, we talked for 40 minutes and it didn't even feel like it was that long just because he is so easy to talk to. So some really interesting thoughts from him. And I mean, you heard it from him. Like even he wasn't expecting to play as well as he's playing.
Yeah, Casey is, and what I really like is I think that Casey is someone who's very accessible. He is someone who not only, he's playing well, but he is someone that I think a lot of people are going to want to root for. And so I'm glad we got to talk to him, have him on the show. And, I hope he keeps playing lights out like he is right now. I would like to point out really quick. Yes, last week when we did our young players segment, Casey White was my pick for the best young player this season, and he proved me right. So, my top 5 from Jonesboro weren't great, but my Casey White pick proved to be pretty good.
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel like our picks from Jonesboro are pretty solid. I mean, we both had Garrett Gerthy in there. He didn't end up finishing in the top 5, but I had Calvin, Paul, Ricky, and Eagle in my top 5. So
you did.
That was pretty solid.
Garrett and Nico both placed a little bit lower than I was hoping. So
neither of us had Macy Walker in our top 5. So shame on us for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, interesting hearing him talk about touring as well, and building out the van, doing the van life thing. I'd encourage everybody to check out the articles that were up on the Ultra World Disc Golf website this past 2 weeks. Andrew Fish, a touring pro, well, I shouldn't say touring, partial touring pro out of Baltimore, wrote a two-part series on the cost of touring, and basically tried to model out exactly how much it costs to go out and live on the road in various circumstances. And, so Casey's doing the van thing. He's gone from the Airbnb world to the van world. It's a little bit more affordable, as you can check out in the article. But I think it's pretty cool insight into, what does it take to go on the road, and how well do you have to play in order to make it worth it? And, Casey's at the right age, I think, and has a girlfriend who's willing to travel and live on the road in a van. And that's it's a lifestyle choice as much as it is a career.
Yeah. And I think it is noteworthy that, and Andrew Fish talks about this a little bit, but Casey said if he hadn't been playing as well as he has been the past couple weeks, he might be at home right now. That's, and that's a reality that comes with touring, and, performance is more than just, and, we talk about, Macbeth, if it's not first, it's last, that attitude for a lot of players though. 5th place, the difference between 5th and 10th place can mean how comfortable they are for the next couple weeks. So it's great. Yeah, it's great to see Casey, young guy who is playing well and able to, to make that transition to van life a little bit easier, a little bit more successful for him.
Kind of like breaking news right now, Mid-America Open, a little bit of a question mark about what's going to happen this weekend. They're dealing with some snowstorms right now in Columbia, Missouri, where the tournament takes place, and I think there's rain in the forecast. Looks like they might have to move off of the Harmony Bends course where the tournament was scheduled. As of this moment right now, Tuesday afternoon, the plan is still to hold the event, but maybe at a backup course. That's what we're hearing. So keep an eye on that. And we're not going to make picks this weekend just because of the kind of uncertainty around that. But the final round of that tournament will be covered live on the Disc Golf Network, and there'll be the standard Silver Series coverage over on YouTube as well. All right, that is going to do it for this week's edition of The Upshot. Thank you so much for tuning in. Subscribers, definitely stick around and check out our subscriber bonus segment this week. We're going to talk about how manufacturers can identify the next big thing. How do you find the Casey White? It's expensive as a manufacturer to only hire the people who are already good as your, spokespeople, those kind of sponsored by you and throwing your discs, because you're going to have to pay the premium of paying for that, once they've already established themselves. So how do you find who's going to be the next big thing? We'll talk about that in our subscriber bonus segment. So you can become a subscriber for less than $4 a month at discgolf.ultiworld.com/subscribe. For Josh Mansfield, I'm Charlie Eisenhood saying so long, and we'll talk to you next week right here on The Upshot.